Welcome, everybody, to the final part of the spooky trilogy of the Popcast Movie Club for October of 2023. As we rip, rend, and tear into the film that's 3 decades in the making, Trick or Treat. I am Ashley, your host, as per usual. And joining me, as always, is AJ.
Yes.
And making a spectacular return, also probably because it's his pick and he's got a lot to say about it, is Chris.
Hello.
So yeah, I feel this is fascinating because this starts from a 1996 animated short that then gets sort of released in 2007, goes on a festival circuit in 2009, gets a home media release around the same time, but doesn't get a full-fledged cinema release until 12 months ago. And therefore is credited on Wikipedia as having a box office of about $27,000 on a $12 million budget. I'm guessing that doesn't include the home media stuff. Ever so slightly.
Yeah, because I don't know about anybody else, but this was a movie I kind of, and I'm kind of ashamed when you see the quality of the movie. But I avoided this movie for a long time, just based on the straight to DVD stigma. Like I couldn't have imagined that this was the level of movie that it is based on that. Like it feels like it was absolutely made for theaters. So I've never been entirely sure what exactly happened with the release and what the intentions were, but I really wish I could have seen it when they finally released it last year, but it never came anywhere near here, unfortunately. But that would have been awesome.
Yeah, I don't think it would have ever came out over here, and the only version that I know, I was confused at first. It was like Warner Premieres. It's like, why isn't it just Warner Bros? And then I realised, oh, Warner Premieres is what they call their straight to video stuff, allegedly. Although I don't remember any of the Batman animated stuff or anything like that in the past couple of years being Warner Premiere branded. Those apparently are Warner Brothers or DC. They get away with it. But this little indie film from 10 or so years ago gets like and feathered in such a way that it makes it seem like it's a cheap thing, but is actually, compared to a lot of horrors, to some extent, I think this is the Five Nights at Freddy's movie that I should have got, as opposed to the PG-13 nonsense that we did get. Congrats to them making a crap ton of money on it, but this actually was to excuse the pun, this was the real treat of this weekend. Why, Chris, did you want to did you just want to like bring it to more attention, really, or what was your thinking?
It was something that when I recommended I hadn't seen before, but what came recommended to me, and I'm a big fan of anthology movies,
Mm-hmm.
which this is. So I kind of it was a way to kind of get my own eyes on it, and then I figured with everything I had heard, I would like it, which I did. So yeah, it was more or less I needed to watch it. This gave me a reason to.
All right.
There's so, I'm basically just curious about everything you have to say since this was a first time viewing for you. Like I just want to know everything about how you're feeling.
Well, I was gonna watch it closer to today, but we actually ended up watching it last week, and I kind of knew what I was in for when Susan said we can go ahead and watch Trick or Treat, and I was like, well, I want to watch it towards closer to the movie when it's fresher in my mind, and she said, oh, it'll still be fresh. He's like, you probably won't forget what you saw.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's true.
Yeah, that's pretty true. I remember it pretty vividly.
and it's certainly a novel approach to an anthology.
Hmm.
Because I'm sort of used to the creep show style, sort of like own stories that sort of loosely get looped together. I feel the British film Ghost Stories was more akin to that, which is one that I want to bring up at some point over the upcoming months, years, whatever.
I was
So
kind of hoping anthology was the direction that Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was going to go. I mean, I liked it as it was, but I was really thinking it was going to be more of an anthology movie.
yeah, it certainly had the potential to, with like everything that you had to go with it. But I guess they wanted to go Goosebumps with it.
Yeah.
Just take the source material and sort of work something around it. But the thing is, I would say it's an anthology with a difference because all the events are happening concurrently, and you sort of see it's a Paul Thomas Anderson film in that respect. It's like,
I was
oh
just
wait,
gonna say
hang on,
that.
that person was from 10 minutes ago. Like,
I was gonna say, it's the Magnolia of horror anthology.
yes. Except this time there are no frogs.
Because I remember being kind of disappointed when when the first time I saw it when I started it, because the thing that finally made me want to watch it was learning that it was an anthology, and when I saw they were connecting, it was like, oh, that's kind of lame. But no, it's actually one of the movie's strengths, I think, the way they like intersect,
Mm-hmm.
because it gives the movie room to have like a lot of surprises. Because it's kind of like the stories themselves are pretty straight to the point. It's when the movie feels like it has twists and turns, or when those intersections happen.
Especially with Dylan Baker.
Yeah.
I mean, to do a wrestling term, he has flipped so many times than Big Show. It's like,
And I have to respect a movie for the fact that Dylan Baker is such a big plot point.
Yeah, and to see a movie so popular and beloved where Dylan Baker's first credited is really satisfying.
It is. It is. Dylan Baker is always one of those actors that, like, if you know him and you appreciate him. But if you don't know him, you know you've seen him everywhere.
Yeah. A lot of people don't even realize that he's Owen in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And I saw that movie I had seen that movie like 30 times before I realized that.
but yeah,
I just love that he was in 2 Spider-Man movies and this was his villainous turn.
But yeah,
of course you haven't.
Oh, go ahead.
You have, brother. You haven't seen Happiness yet, have you?
No.
That's another one that's kind of got that Magnolia vibe going on with the intersecting lives, but Dylan Baker plays a very, very dark character. Like, basically, I don't know what you can say on YouTube, but
Well, I can tell you what I heard about it. I pretty much heard that it's a movie that the good guy is like a child molester.
yeah, like, by good guy, I assume you mean protagonist.
Yeah.
Basically, in a nutshell. and not in the sense of The Woodsman where it's about redemption. It's his acts are the events of his portion of the movie. And it's kind of really, if you just add murder to that character, they're kind of similar characters.
There is a beautiful irony to you saying all this, AJ. Because to briefly dip into the chat before we actually talk about the rest of the film, Josie says, I love the way the pieces of the anthology intertwine and intersect. But then, what Dylan Baker's character does here to Furman from Bad Santa isn't too far off from what his character from Happiness would do. So,
And yeah, by the way, speaking of what he did to Thurman Merman, Obviously a much discussed thing on this channel is my vomit phobia. And obviously I knew it was coming, so I've never watched that scene. I've always turned away from that scene. But for the love of shit, that has to be it might be the grossest sounding vomit scene maybe in existence.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you see, but I know
Not
what
to
you
try and trigger you too much, AJ. But it's like that 15 to 20 minutes. Oh, if it was that much, holy. 15 to 20 seconds of like gurgling, as if the anticipation of oh no.
and that there
Again,
was
just to borrow a line from Beyond the Line to Beyond the Mat. He's gonna puke. He's
and the fact that there's a second and third wave doesn't
Well, AJ, if you want to know how much you see, just imagine a horror movie taking itself seriously version of the scene in Mafia, and you're there.
Oh god.
I mean,
Is it
technically, there's a fourth wave because once he gets him in the house, a bit more happens.
Yeah, he gets hit again. Yeah.
Ah, the wonders of cyanide.
I think the signal for me to where I can look at the screen again is when I hear him digging. I think that's when it's finally over.
Mhm.
To some extent, it's safe from when the doorbell rings, and the kids look
Yeah.
for their trick or treat.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that if there's a sequel made to this movie that it should follow the adventures of his son?
I love, and I don't know how long it took me to realize this. Did you notice the detail when his kid is giving out candy at the very end? He's dressed like his costume is him,
Yeah.
where he's got the shirt with like the blood on it. For some reason, it took me forever to realize that.
I think the sequel should be an anthology series around, or an anthology movie around his quest to find Anna Paquin and her group.
Did I? Am I just imagining things based on this conversation, or was there talk of Doherty making a sequel of some kind at some point?
I've heard rumblings of a sequel.
I'm struggling to remember if it was him actually doing it during these talks, or if it was just one of those things that was going to take on a life of its own, or what.
Looking at Wiki, he announced in 2009 as it was doing the festival tours that he was planning a sequel, but there was no sort of emphasis on really trying to go for it. They then announced the sequel 10 years ago, but that's when whoever it was at Legendary Entertainment basically left. There was a change in management, so it never happened. And then to coincide with the sort of the cinema release last year, he did say that it is in active development now with Legendary Pictures, but it's not officially been greenlit. That being said, considering how well Universal did with FNAF, I think Warner Brothers would probably want something like this, considering how lackluster practically all the other horror films that Warner Brothers produced, not just this October, but this year, have underperformed at the box office.
I'm surprised he didn't get more jobs like this after Krampus. Because with Krampus, he was able to capture the vibe. I feel like he captured the vibe out here pretty well in Krampus, and Krampus is only PG-13.
Yeah,
While this is very much not.
Then he decided to be part of the writing team for X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah, and Andy did King of the Monsters. Is that the last time we saw him? Was King of the Monsters?
In terms of directing, yes, but he was credited with the script for the original Godzilla v Kong, and then he's given like an additional sort of like story credits, but not actually the script for the upcoming Godzilla Kong film that's coming out, I believe, April next year. allegedly, unless there's more writer's strike, or sorry, actors strike, so they can't film it, so it'll get pushed mysteriously another year, like everything is right now.
What were you getting ready to say, brother?
I was just gonna say, I feel like he definitely has an eye for atmosphere between this and Krampus, because the atmosphere just drips Halloween. In Krampus, the atmosphere drips like bitter fucking cold.
Yeah. It's like I really want him to try like Easter and some of the other holidays.
They should have
I
got
was
him to do Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to bring that up because I was just saying to Owen like yesterday how unnecessary Thanksgiving is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if it was something like this, then I'd be much more interested, I think.
You know what turned me off of Thanksgiving was when I looked at the cast list and saw that Michael Biehn was not a part of it.
Yeah, I think Dempsey's supposed to be his character, which makes no sense. Why not just put Michael Biehn in?
They need Michael Biehn in there just to have the scene where he goes, "It's blood, son of a bitch."
Yeah, like with Thanksgiving not having that moment, it's just like what's the point?
What does that say, though? They're trying to make a movie out of something that the fake trailer was so memorable that I can quote it.
I think it is a very good sort of Shyamalan twist, though. The quote-unquote principal segment of the story.
I thought you were going to say that Michael Bihn's not in Thanksgiving.
No, no. I'm trying to somehow try it back on the tracks.
Patrick Dempsey was Michael Biehn the whole time. Holy shit!
No.
Pulls his face off Scooby-Doo style.
We'll get to pulling off skin later. But yeah, just that sort of reveal that basically Billy sort of is in on it. And he's basically like father, like son, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say that when we were talking about the intersecting is where the twists and turns come in. It is interesting that basically every scene that Dylan Baker's in has a twist in it of some kind, has some surprise factor to it.
I am intrigued as to like what happened to the mother.
Yeah,
maybe something
like
that. Maybe we put that in Trick or Treat too.
Yeah, because he casually, when he's mimicking his son, and then one of those mimics is, "I wish mom was still alive." And the question is like, is this like a tragic story, or did he kill her, or is there an option C? Because it's like, did her death trigger what he is, or was he always what he is? Or I love how many questions come with one line.
Was he the reason? Was the kid the reason?
That could be.
But you were talking about the scene where he's mocking him. I have to say that normally, like, kids cursing doesn't crack me up as much as some people do. But I did get a good chuckle out of Charlie Brown's an asshole.
It's so unnecessarily aggressive.
Especially at Charlie Brown. Like, Charlie Brown's the last person that needs a "fuck you" added on to whatever he's going through.
It would have been an added chef's kiss. It was just like, Woodstock's a twat.
But now I need a movie where, and I just watched this last night, and AJ, I can't see your video, but I can see the eye rolls from you. I watched the Winnie the Pooh horror movie last night.
Oh.
And based on the fact that Charlie Brown is treated, I need that movie done with Charlie Brown as the killer. And he starts with driving a football through Lucy's face.
I'll bet that would be so much better than what what's it called, Blood and Honey was.
Especially if the cold open is the football going through Lucy's face. Like, he just punts it into her face.
And the ending just needs to be a sinister version of Christmas Time Is Here.
Yeah.
Can we also draw attention to the fact that the kid is in on these killings, but when he says Charlie Brown's an asshole, Dylan Baker is shocked. It's like he's shocked that he speaks that way.
I tell you something that where Dylan Baker also comes into play was I didn't realize until I looked it up later. I thought Sam's weapon at the end was like a knife hidden in a candy bar, but no, it's one of Dylan Baker's candy bars that had a razor in it. The one that he gave him.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because
I've never picked up on that.
Sam only
Yeah,
took
it's the
Sam only took
when he
like
gave
that
it-
lion
it was-
bar sort of candy thing.
Mm-hmm. I think AJ just discovered something else that he likes about this movie.
Yeah, I just assumed that was just a creative weapon.
No, it's Dylan Baker's candy bar that he gave to him that had a razor blade in it.
See, this is another reason why the intersecting's so brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of it's so subtle you only realize it until days later.
So Dylan Baker's even causing twists and turns in the segments he's not even in.
Yes.
Dylan Baker indirectly almost took out his neighbor he hated.
Yeah.
Dylan,
He did by ignoring him and his cries for help, and by supplying the weapon indirectly.
Yeah.
Dylan may have inadvertently been involved in every single segment. Because who knows whether he was principal when the Halloween school bus massacre happened, and was he in on it?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say that Dylan Baker is the heartbeat of Trick or Treat?
How long ago did they ever specify how long ago the bus thing was? Because it feels like there's like decades.
It has like I think they said 30 years ago, and it definitely has like a 70s vibe to it.
No, that would make sense.
Which, if it was set sort of mid-2000s and Krieg is implied to have been the bus driver, that would fit sort of a 30-year sort of gap.
I also love how much they didn't spell that out. Like no matter how many times I've seen the movie, I still always expect when we see the picture burning for there to be a dissolve from his face to Brian Cox's face, but it's like, no, just the picture itself is just saying that was what's up.
The only implication was the wheezing.
Which I found out from the trivia Brian Cox added.
Oh!
Interesting.
He only does everything, including James Bond things where he's doing some sort of what the hell? Anyway.
While we're on the topic, could we go ahead and just segue into the bus story itself?
I mean, that's what was next on the schedule.
Because that's... Well, number one, easily, for me, it is the creepiest story in the movie, but it's also just, like, when you look at horror movies as a whole, that whole section of the movie just really, like, lives under my skin. And it's what the past segment and the present segment, where you have... Because there's the idea of the disturbed kids in general, but the fact that we never see their real faces, just the Halloween masks. And then you would say there's like a campy factor to when they're like zombie-fied and stuff like that. But it's just that idea that they come back and they come back for a reason, and we get like looks at them, but it also almost just kind of... It's basically like they're silhouettes. But there's just enough light to where we can see, like, the sludge and the 30 years of being in a watery grave has done to them. And when they, like, come to the scene and, like, we just see the grimy bus that's been sitting there for 30 years, everything about that is so incredibly creepy to me. On top of the fact, when you think about how merciless this movie is towards children. And the fact that whatever these kids do when they kill sounds very crunchy and vicious, but we don't really know exactly how they're killing people. We just hear something that sounds really gruesome. And the fact that it's even the kids that are like remorseful, it doesn't matter. And then and I think also when we see Sam when the bus goes by in the flashback, and just thinking about how long Sam has been around and how he's like this immortal Halloween figure, just every single thing about this entire section of the movie just creeps me the fuck out in a way that I really love.
Did you know that originally Rhonda was supposed to be one of the kids, and that's why they talk about her like they do, because it was supposed to make sense that she was one of them?
No.
But I think it was either the director or the writer didn't like the idea and wanted to keep her a regular kid.
I do like that because I think it adds a more interesting note to that moment when, after all the kids have been killed, and she's just walking away by herself, and there's that moment where her and Sam just kind of look at each other and then go their separate ways. I think that moment is more interesting when she's a regular kid.
Yeah, when they basically sort of acknowledge. Well, I'm not saying Sam is autistic or whatever, but it's sort of like an acknowledgement of like, you don't need to suffer like this. Like how we sort of get that to some extent with what happens with Krieg at the end, when Sam actually sort of spares him because of all the trauma he's had to live through about having to take this bribe to have these kids killed, and then him just barely escaping with his life, getting out of the bus in time. Of course, probably also partially knowing that quarry kids know how to use lifts.
Yeah, I'd always wondered if it was actually Sam sparing him or just Sam knew the kids were coming. I was never quite sure.
I think a bit of both. I guess he felt that possibly he shouldn't be the one that delivers it.
I think it might just be a simple case of Sam got what he wanted, so he bailed.
Yeah.
Because I love his reaction, because he just dabs the candy bar. He sees he has it. He's like, well, bye.
Brother, before you watched it, did you know what Sam's face looked like? Or was that a surprise?
I knew because Susan has a figure of him where you can replace his masked head with an unmasked head.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's good aesthetically, but I don't really condone this. My Blu-ray cover is literally just a picture of his unmasked face.
Oh.
I feel like that's a little too revealing.
Which is crazy because honestly, for me, I'm borderline if I needed to see his face at all.
Yeah. That's one of those cases where I feel like normally I would say don't show his face, but the fact that there was actually some creativity put into his design, I've never minded it, really.
I love that his version of blood is like pumpkin innards.
Yeah. It's like there's a gory factor to it despite the fact that it's just pumpkin.
Yeah. And I think it's hilarious when Brian Cox shoots him and we just get the shot of him sliding up against the wall.
That shot gets me every time.
Yeah.
Because it seems like he was just that easy to beat. And I love the idea that basically his limbs can go Evil Dead.
Yeah.
And move by themselves, because I love the shot where we've maybe forgotten for a second that his hand got blown off.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's the moment where the phone cord gets pulled out and something's amiss, but Sam just sitting there against the wall is in the background. So we have this moment for like a second of, well, if Sam's right there, what's doing this? And it's like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, his hand has gone rogue.
Mhm.
I like that. That's a really good fake out to have Sam's like body like in the background while his hand is causing havoc, so we don't know for a second what it is.
What I like about it too is like Sam kind of feels like the creep in Creepshow until like he actively gets involved.
Yeah, like to make him the face of the movie, and then he's just kind of a presence throughout until he's the climax.
He's
Is a
kind
really
he's kind of like Trick or Treat. This comparison cracks me up. I don't know why. He's kind of Trick or Treat's Thanos.
yeah. Just a little brief thing here and there, and then it's like, oh, is he orchestrating everything? Is that what's going on here? And then he's like the big. It's funny to call that a big final battle, but I mean that's basically what it is.
Like literally the cut to Brian Cox is literally his version of the after credits scene where he grabs a gauntlet and says, "I'll do this myself."
Yeah. And then Brian Cox. I mean, this was Loki's doing, but still, Brian Cox answering the door and all of his bandages is like them sitting in shawarma, where it's
Yeah.
just the aftermath.
Mhm.
And I love how he was like on the verge of an Ebenezer Scrooge turnaround, and then the kids showed up.
Yeah, it's like what would happen if like if you take the example that you laid out, it would be like what happened if Scrooge still had to deal with his chickens coming home to roost.
Yeah, well, that'd be
He-
crazy
he
if a
went
Christmas
that
Carol
whole-
was like that.
That would, wouldn't it? Like he goes through that whole arc and it literally ends with him like getting gunned down in the street and still no one shows up to his funeral.
I was gonna say like Marley's chains like start to wrap themselves around him, and then he just gets pulled into the abyss.
Oh man. I feel like if
Wow.
that was gonna happen in anything, it would have happened in Scrooged.
Yeah, I was just about to say, has A Christmas Carol been turned into a horror movie yet? Like a full-blown horror movie that would end that way.
That's what I'm saying. Like with the Winnie the Pooh one I watched last night, there's so many other ideas you could do. I still like my Charlie Brown idea.
And I will stand by the Charlie Brown idea is better than the Winnie the Pooh one. That's for
Like
sure.
like you could map out all of it. Like Linus could get asphyxiated with his blanket. Schroeder could like have a piano dropped on him or have the piano
That's-
close on his head.
Another thing that would make that trippy is why I said this movie works so well as far as like this sort of shock factor of how mercilessly it treats kids, and how if you made a horror themed Peanuts movie like that, all the characters would be kids.
Yeah. Yeah, you could do that. You could absolutely do that. Another one, you could have Pigpen get killed by like a garbage disposal. Like the possibilities are endless.
Sadly, we have to wait 20-something years for that. Because Snoopy first appeared in 1950.
How long do we have till Peanuts is public domain?
1950. So
So, does that leave the Anna Paquin story? Is that the only thing we haven't touched on?
Yeah, I think so.
Did I miss the discussion on Brian Cox being Brian Cox?
Yeah, we discussed like the whole
You mean-
climax.
You mean Brian Cox beating John Carpenter?
I mean, partially, yeah. But yeah, the surprise party in all senses of the word.
For the one thing I want to point out right away that I find very impressive is the use of Marilyn Manson's "Sweet Dreams," because if I remember correctly, that version was created for House on Haunted Hill, and that was House on Haunted Hill's anthem for like 8 years, and then this movie kind of abducted it as its own to the point that when you hear that version now, you probably think of the werewolf scene in this before you think of House on Haunted Hill, if I had to guess. I think that's me now.
That's possible. Did you know the kid peeking in on the girls when they're changing clothes? That's who plays Sam.
No, is it?
Yeah, that boy.
I like the I remember. Did you know it was going a werewolf direction?
No, no. Even when they were attacking, I thought they were vampires, and Susan was like, "No, not quite."
I love once you realize it's werewolves, there were blatant ass clues everywhere.
Oh, you mean like starting with her costume?
Her costume, when they're trying to get her to open the door at the to the change room, and they say, "Or we'll huff and we'll puff."
Yeah.
And then Dylan Baker's line. Well, Dylan Baker's line's kind of in reference to her costume, but still. But yeah, it was like it was all there. But I remember being surprised also, and
Mm-hmm.
that's impressive in itself that there were so many obvious clues, and then it's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, like that. Like when you realize it, and then you go back and think about it, you're like, they weren't subtle at all.
At the
Like, it
same
was
time, the
telegraphed
thing that
literally in the
most
first
got
10
me
seconds.
was Dylan taking out random woman.
Mhm.
Like, how did he do so much damage that actually killed her? Because at first I was thought, oh wait, is he actually sort of a vampire? And then when the reveal comes and it's like, no, they're just actual fake teeth, I was like, oh. I wanted it to be like, oh, vampire's gonna stick his fangs into this woman. And then
Oh
it's
man,
like,
that gives
actual vampire gets screwed by actual werewolf. They did it better than Twilight.
man. Now that just makes me want a movie about a vampire that kills people by human means, and then doesn't even use the fact that he's a vampire to be a killer.
I feel like there's an obscure movie where that exists, but I'm not sure. I could see Hammer doing something like that back in the day or something.
Even with Christopher Lee.
Yeah. I like the fact that Dylan Baker's just a serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
It's because
He's
with all of like the
he's a supernatural
actual
thing going on.
yeah, because there's so many monster elements,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea of not just it being that he's a serial killer, but he's like a generational serial killer is insane in itself.
Yeah, just the way it's like sort of done, done so like I just like it. It's just
Yeah, another thing as far as like the serial killer element is the opening fake out with Leslie Bibb, where there's the guy in the mask just watching her from across the street, and it's just a dude, and that in itself has serial killer vibes, and we don't real. It's not really till later in the movie we realize that it's Sam that killed her, are we? Like obviously it like really reveals itself at the very end when she catches his eye, but I was trying to remember if we learned before that or we were able to figure it out before that.
you do see
I
that
don't.
sort of glimpse of somebody watching from sort of in the garden, which is after we've established that masked guy has driven off in the car, which I guess is
I think you
another
can.
person that we can explore in Trick or Treat too.
I think you can also put it together when she's being stalked at the beginning. The point of view shot that they use looks like it's through something, like it's somebody. Their vision's partially blocked by something like a burlap bag, and then that's the same POV shots we get with Brian Cox.
Yeah, and the fact that the POV shots are really down low.
Yeah. I just
So
love
it
the
was,
idea that like the Leslie Bibb scene has a couple fake outs. Like that dude's a fake out, and then her pulling the sheets off the
uh,
ghost things are also fake outs, and he's in the box the whole time.
yeah, when you see the movie for the first time, those sheet pulls are really nerve wracking.
And I think to me the fact that I think right there showed me that I was going to be getting a different kind of movie, like where they subverted expectations in the jump scare in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, first 5 minutes really. How did
Yeah.
how do you feel about how short the movie is? Holy shit, is it short?
Yeah, I would have loved to have had more, like fit in another story in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you take out the
I
credits, what,
also
it's
feel like,
about 76, 77 minutes?
yeah, the official runtime is 82 minutes, but taking credits into account, yeah, it'd be something like that. But it's like
Now,
it's that same thing where I think one of its strengths is that it leaves you wanting more. Where
yeah,
it's just like,
and I would be afraid of it taking a Terrifier route where the first Terrifier is really short and the second one's over 2.5 hours.
oh god, yeah. Yeah, because it has that really short runtime, but at the same time, nothing feels rushed.
Hmm.
Like it goes in so many it packs in so much and goes in so many different directions and has so many surprises in that really really short amount of time.
And
That's impressive in
it also
itself.
feels like it's like intricately put together.
Yeah,
Like somebody mapped all this out, and they had to have. And I know it's probably a common movie thing, but they definitely had to storyboard this quite a bit, I would think.
Which part of me
yes, like
wonders whether the storyboard process actually was those comic panels that you see in the various bits in the credits.
yeah, because
I'm
like
I'm
even the tiny little intersections, like in the opening scene with Leslie Bibb, where we see the shot of the girl crossing the street and she almost gets hit by Anna Paquin and her friends, and we hear them like laughing. We don't even see them in that moment, do we? We just hear them laughing, and we see like below the car.
well, even more than that. In the beginning, um, the very beginning when Leslie Bibb gets home, you see the school bus kids leaving Krieg's house.
You do?
Yes, very briefly.
I'll have to look at that again, but I'm also afraid of being too creeped out if I see it.
It's all like you can sort of imagine that there's a whole micro way that this is plotted with each individual story, and then the whole macro of how Michael wanted like this little bit to sort of appear here, like you know the the woman getting killed by vampire principal, or sorry, vampire principal, um, has the run in with what was it, Emma and Henry. Um, but then that's that done.
I
I
think
still,
also what makes this movie work too is where the way the stories end and the way they play out has a very Tales from the Crypt vibes of it, of the asshole getting comeuppance.
yeah. Another small intersection I was thinking about just now was when the kids are looking for pumpkins for the ritual, and they say they're having trouble because some asshole's been going around smashing them, and that's Thurman Merman.
Yeah. And then of
I love
course
that you just keep referring to him as Herman Merman.
I could I could call him Brett Kelly, but I feel like people will only know what I'm talking about if I call him Thurman Merman.
I just realised how many other kids did the principal kill? Because that first time when he's trying to sort of work out what he's doing with the body of Charlie, and the kids
That's
come to the door and get given apparently sweets, and we
oh,
know that most of the sweets that were there are sort of unless they weren't rigged because they came direct from the bag that he got them from the store. And that's what him and his son do. They basically like, yeah, let's put the razor blade in here.
Yeah, so it's like a roulette of how these kids will die.
Yeah. To some extent, it's Final Destination style. It's like, well, there's the moment. It's all gone. It's over.
Also, I
I
don't.
want to
I'm
know
not
about the I want to know about the kid in the hole that was still alive.
sure.
When the hell did that happen?
That's kind of what the direction I was about to go, where it's like when you watch Dylan Baker's character in this, and you watch his character in Happiness, another sort of similarity there is that these horrific things he's doing to children in both movies are treated as dark comedy, which I find it interesting.
Yeah.
It's like somehow he's been able to execute that twice, and both times it actually ends up working as this, oh my god, I can't believe how unbelievably sick this is. Also, why am I on the verge of laughing? Kind of way the way Doherty does this and Salons did Happiness. It takes your mind to the most fucked up places that you don't want it to go. And I love that Dylan Baker is so capable of that on top of his writer and directors.
Yeah, and the thing as well that I want to give a lot of praise to, considering again, direct to video, although in brackets or in quotations, because it sort of got screwed and whatever. The score is, considering most sort of like B movie style scores, the score that Douglas Pipes does is really damn good. Set the atmosphere just right and everything, and I think it's disappointing that his last credited score was McGee's Babysitter film.
Oh god.
Although, depending on release, it may have been the live concert score he did for Buster Keaton's The General. What a double header that is in 2017.
Yeah, it's crazy how great the production values as a whole are here. Another thing I wanted to mention that I forgot was the use of fog in that quarry scene also. Like that the shot we get of the bus kind of reminds me of that iconic shot from The Fog where we see the ship arrive, which is one of my favorite shots in any horror movie ever. It's insane what they were able to accomplish with the budget also, because this doesn't feel low budget, especially the werewolf effects. Holy shit!
Yeah, we neglected to mention that bit when we were going to talk about the surprise party. Everything
Which is
that goes into the CGI as well as the actual proper visual effects for the unveiling of these women as werewolves. Just not like the fact that it doesn't try and go American Werewolf style and it sort of just appears and sort of rips out. It's like, oh no, look, I'm taking off my stockings. Oh wait, it's my skin.
Yeah, where the skin is just another set of clothes essentially.
Yeah.
Is wild.
Like somebody getting their claw and going down the back with the sort of nil desperandum tattoo. It's just like, okay, that's actually sort of that's awesome as well. Just that's very well done because it's merging everything together and it's sort of and then sort of because obviously we don't see Paquin's Laurie sort of, and I'm guessing Laurie was put in there for as a name for obvious reason. But when we see her sort of tilt her head up and the face morphs just briefly into something that is werewolf-esque but not exactly, because that's enough to imply. It's just very well done. Oh, I'll briefly go into the comments because we've got a fair bit to go through. Josie also mentions, I can only imagine what Billy Bob Thornton's character from Bad Santa would say when Charlie vomits.
He'd probably accuse the kid of it being his fault for eating too much.
Yeah.
He would blame it on the advent calendar candies.
Oh, Spencer says, I think the
That would
prince...
be. He could. That would be. You just use the same line. It's when he eats the candy, and then that starts to happen. Well, they can't all be winners.
Spencer says, I think the principal was my least favourite. I don't know if that means character or segment, I'm not sure. Also, AJ and Chris are Halloween reaction legends. Adding, I agree with Chris on Halloween too. I love the mask kids on the bus. Yeah, that's sort of that, and that's sort of very treated very well as well. The flashback bit with the sort of, you know, the kid saying I want to go home, you know, sort of rocking, as if to sort of imply the stuff outright, rather than making it to, you know, I am Sam.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, because I mean, obviously there's something really sad about it, but I've also kind of wondered, like, is it insensitive to be as creeped out by that scene as I am? I feel like a lot of it is the fact that they're wearing the Halloween masks.
I think it's partially the Halloween masks, and then you know where the story's going, and then you look, and they're even restrained in their seats,
as if they're prisoners.
Yeah. And it's like, I think the bus and the water would be enough to overcome, but sure.
It's like this school bus was actually a prison bus, but the prison just they just donated it as a school charity thing. Like, you can have it. Does it come with a change and locks? Yeah, but you're not gonna need them, right? Right.
And the fact that it's very straightforward with how it portrays the flashback, where it's like it's not even really trying to be creepy. It just is. it just has this bad feeling about it in a very good way.
I wonder if part of that's the 70s vibe too, because like 70s is a weird vibe. Can be used as a weird vibe in movies.
And it's like, and knowing that it's like decades in the past, it kind of feels like even when they're alive, it feels like you're looking at ghosts, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's part of the reason I don't like to look at creepy old pictures. That's why sometimes Cracker Barrel is a nightmare factory for me.
Spencer also mentioned the director's been trying for a sequel, which we just talked about. Also adding, My Soul to Take is amazing. It's my favourite bad movie.
I don't think we're ever going to see eye to eye on that. Sorry.
That's just a bad movie. There is no... Favourite is not involved. Olivia Colman is safe. At least in AJ's eyes. Josie, with some exciting news, moving to a new place just before Thanksgiving and is a much bigger and nicer place. Hope all goes well with the move. As far as recent reads, I've read Nightbird by Alice Hoffman and The Puppets of Spellhorse by Kate DiCamillo, the author of the Mercy Watson series and Because of Winn-Dixie. Trying to remember the Mercy Watson stuff.
Conversation's going. Now my wheels are turning on how to make Winn-Dixie a horror movie.
Wasn't it a dog?
Yeah, but we can't just redo Cujo.
Yeah. It's got to be like a hellhound or something.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's great. Winn-Dixie is a hellhound. That's fantastic.
That would make a dog's journey more palatable.
I mean, he is like the Living Dead in a way. He keeps having new names. He's dying and coming back.
He's Jesus dog. Ah!
Maybe he's in a Happy Death Day loop.
Oh God.
So he says, I saw Anatomy of a Fall yesterday. It was brilliant. What an excellent brain teaser or ambiguity. Interesting how the stories in this anthology are basically like dark fairy tales with lessons. Yeah, the biggest lesson: don't do anything stupid on Halloween, because you're gonna die.
Yeah, that's kind of what you were saying about the Tales from the Crypt thing, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Where those had like this sort of, it was either like a moral tale or just a do bad shit to others and bad shit will be done to you, especially when you fuck with the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, sort of deriving, in that respect, deriving some extent from Day of the Dead. The
Yeah.
holiday, not the movie.
Yeah.
And the whole concept of like, this is the time where you respect those that passed, not just kick a pumpkin about. Oh, Briar's asked you, Chris, since you're here, have you managed to catch Horror Express or The Frighteners?
Oh, I love the Frighteners.
The one that you might want to watch is Horror Express. I think. Does it get AJ Silver approval for possibly watching this weekend or this week for Halloween?
Yeah, Horror Express is basically The Thing meets a slasher movie on a train. And you get Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing.
Does sound good.
And it was actually made in the 70s, so you get the 70s vibe actually in the 70s.
Oh man, so you get 70s Lee and Cushing.
Yes.
Oh man. Yeah, that sounds pretty must watch.
I think it's free, on lots of places. Bryce says I did like this, but I won't go back to it. I'll get to final thoughts on that, but I wouldn't go. I'd agree with the first part. I'm trying to work out how often I would go back to it.
I feel like it's endlessly rewatchable. I think the length has a lot to do with that too.
Yeah, that does help.
Easily.
Plus, you can just keep looking to see. Because I'm sure there's plenty of intertwinings that we've missed in backgrounds of scenes and stuff, and of different dialogue.
Even stuff that's obvious. I like I said, I only just noticed recently that Maker's kid is dressed as him for Halloween.
Yeah. And Dylan Baker mentions that like they can't do something because he has to go on a date. His date was literally to go out and assault women and kill them.
Yeah. See, there it is again. Why the fuck am I laughing?
That might have been just the way that I worded it. That one might be on me.
That could be. And the fact that he says you can't go, I've got a date, and when we know what that is.
Josie now with some trivia. I see what you did there. The kid with the lollipop in his mouth who peeks on the girls in the changing rooms is Quinn Lord, who plays Sam throughout the rest of the film, which Chris mentioned. There were 18 drafts of the script. And one theme that crept in along the way is the idea that each of the stories represents a different stage of somebody's experience with Halloween. The first story with Dylan and his son is about how you're introduced to Halloween. The second with the kids is you and your friends roaming around without the parents for the first time. The one with Anna Paquin and her friends is Halloween in your 20s when it's just Friday the 13th, get your tits out. And then the final story with Brian Cox is sort of the Scrooge of Halloween, i.e. Halloween in your twilight years. And I don't mean Twilight. Which, come to think of it, that actually does fit.
and I get you could put Dylan Baker between the teenagers and the when you get older of the middle-aged person trying to still find the fun in Halloween in his own way, but still.
Well, no, it's basically American Psycho
Yeah.
to some extent.
Before we move on, you mentioned the lollipop. And I just want to say, I think it's hilarious that Leslie Bibb ends up getting the lollipop because Sam was like, well, I have to do something with this now.
Yeah, turn that son of a bitch sideways and stick it straight up your mouth. Okay, ruins the joke.
Also, I'm embarrassed to say that it was about 3 hours after the movie before I realized that he was called Sam because of Samhain.
That's news to me.
Oh, really? Man, so that's what, 3 revelations you've had now in this video?
And I love that you built that up as, man, it took me 3 hours. And I was like, when's the first time I saw this movie? Over 10 years ago.
Here's a revelation that's going to make AJ feel more creepy. The performers under the masks playing the kids on the school bus all had real disabilities or injuries.
Oh.
And they apparently all had a blast during the shoot, just having loads of fun.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah, but no,
I was
like
like,
the fact that they
that's
didn't
awesome.
sort of like they didn't stunt cast it. They actually looked for kids, you know, with actual impairments and whatever, to sort of feel the part, sort of thing.
I'm strapped in this chair. This is fun.
I suppose I guess that's no different than being strapped into a roller coaster or something.
Their costumes were inspired by a mix of photos from, what a name, Ralph Meatyard, as well as Diana Arbus capturing real mentally disabled children on Halloween in their own homemade costumes.
Yep.
So that's why it's even more creepy.
Especially creepy old creepy Halloween pictures, like some of those pictures of those kids in the 1920s with costumes on. Fuck those costumes; those things are scary right now.
Characters from each story are frequently seen in the background of stories they're not involved with to help piece together chronology of the film. They couldn't use any recognizable candy wrappers because, quote, all of our candy in the film is either poisoned or filled with razor blades. And they had to create their own instead, which, quote, was kind of fun because we came up with stuff like the Big Fudge Lock. Many of the extras during the parade sequence are members of Vancouver's Parade of Lost Souls, who do that sort of thing every Halloween in the street. Oh, and
I love all of this Halloweenness and stuff. I love that it takes place in Ohio.
yeah.
Like, I also like you were talking about people in the backgrounds, the intersections. It became a fun game for me to treat Leslie Bibb like Where's Waldo. Every time I saw the robot arms, I was like, "Yep, right there."
The look of Brian Cox's character is based on John Carpenter. That's official. The black and white educational film that opens the movie wasn't originally there. It was initially part of a trailer, and the director loved it so much he just added it to the film.
I love that. It sets the tone really well in some way.
Mm-hmm. Doherty's still figuring out Sam's origin and says that if they get around to a sequel, he'd love to show him being born in a pumpkin patch.
I don't really think I need to know more about Sam.
Saying,
Kind
quote,
of like
there's a great Charles...
of it
I can see what maybe that there's a potential here, because Doherty says, quote, there's a great Charles Adams painting of a pumpkin patch, and you see hundreds of pumpkins, and then you see one which is carving itself. If you manage to get that visual, I think you could probably just about get away with it.
Yeah, if you just do it with like one memorable visual, but don't make it like a whole storyline, that could probably be okay.
Oh, and we get an uncredited cameo from James Marsden as well. When the TV is on in Krieg's place and it talks about the history of Halloween candy, that's Marsden doing the narrating. uh,
I feel like that would make sense if Marston had been in like other Doherty movies, but I don't think he is.
I
That just
think
seems
it's
really
probably
random.
it's an X-Men link. I think because remember
Ah.
he wrote the script for X2 as well as Apocalypse, but I think that's the connection there. It's I've got this bit. Do you want to do it? And James was like, yeah. uh, was Marsden in Superman Returns as well?
Yeah, he
Yes.
was the guy that was dating Lois Lane.
So there's the connection as well.
I still have to say the best James Marsden cameo of all time is Zoolander. Still.
A few bits of Brian Cox trivia. Has replaced Tommy Lee Jones in 2 consecutive 96 releases in Chain Reaction and The Glimmer Man. He's
Oh
only
man,
seven and a half years
now I
old.
want to see Tommy Lee Jones as Krieg.
That would have been amazing. He would have literally had to be himself.
Cox is also only 7.5 years older than Dennis Quaid, who played his character's son in The Rookie.
Now I just want Tommy Lee Jones as Krieg telling Sam that he can't sanction his buffoonery.
Although it's
And that's
indicated in
the bit that almost spilled.
although it's indicated in X2 that Stryker is 20 years older than Bruce Davidson's senator, they're actually only 27 days old. Are we trying to say that age has not been good to Brian Cox? Then again, that's basically been his career for the past 20 years, so I don't think he'd turn that down. So, and then, yeah, in '95 he appeared in 2 films revolving around historical Scottish figures who fought with British forces in Braveheart and Rob Roy. Bry then also asks, jumping back to a Trick or Treat, AJ, do you prefer the blood vomit in this film or the no-face black vomit in Spirited Away?
People look at me really weird when I say I can't even do it in animated movies. But I mean, I would say this is worse.
It's worse at first because it's chocolate. You know, it just looks like Augustus Gloop gone wrong. and then like by the time it happens the third time, you sort of you see the color change, and it's like there's something weird. Why is it becoming like chocolate milkshake, not chocolate? And then by the time you obviously get it on his shirt and everything, where it's just legit red.
I've never watched either scene because I could tell the moments were coming. But I was gonna ask you guys if it's better or worse than the scene in The Hateful Eight, because that one sounds really fucking gnarly too, and goes on for quite some time.
Like I told you, this one is literally Mafia if it took itself seriously. And I just love the fact, I don't know that there may be a greater description of that than Ashley gave of like the inverse Augustus Gloop. That may be the best way to describe that. Speaking of which, why is Timothy Chalamet in Wonka prequel. Why are we still beating that drum?
I don't know.
Being the Paddington director, I'm open.
I'm just tired of like, let's learn everything about this character, like Cruella and Maleficent. Like, that's why I don't want an origin story with Sam. Like, I just want mysterious characters to be mysterious.
And the fact that Barton already did that with Wonka anyway, and it was the weakest part of his movie.
Yeah.
Related to that, we've only got 12 months until the next film, when I can start saying, Paddington in Peru, motherfuckers! I can't call it Paddington 3 anymore. It's actually gotten... We can't call it 3, because apparently that's going to scare people.
Keeping in the theme of the video, I once again ask, okay, how do we make Paddington a horror movie?
This isn't horror related, but there's a really stupid theory apparently where the end of Paddington 2 is like him after death and he actually drowned after the train sequence. I don't know why we're trying to do that.
In which case is that why the funeral's in Peru? The only problem is we won't get any sort of flashback unless they somehow recorded it before his death. We won't get any Michael Gambon nod as Paddington's adopted dad and whatever.
Yeah.
Josie says, of course I thought of Banshees of Inisherin with the finger scene. Hold on. No, wrong donkey. There's a donkey. There she is, Jenny the donkey. If that does actually mean that the dog died because it ate the finger, rather than whatever happened in the house, that would have been... That would have been crazy. Or what if it had like Sam's... If it somehow bit off Sam's finger, and like Sam's finger somehow managed to kill the dog from like inside.
And then it just like pop itself out the butthole and just crawls its way back to Sam.
No, just like... No, so just have the dog sort of thing, and then like the tongue comes out, and like it's a red carpet, the finger just crawls along the tongue.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I was gonna go the chestburster route, but both of these are interesting.
That'd be more creepy. We don't need This isn't sci-fi. We need actual sort of, it's either coming through the top or through the bottom. Not sort of like, oh look, the belly button. Woof!
Well, I mean, if the dog's male, it could come out as weenus.
Uh-oh.
I mean, the picture I had in my head was like a chest burst scenario, but it's like we were talking about before when it's like pumpkin insides when it bursts out. But
the dog's not made of pumpkin.
Well, we don't know what happened when it was digesting the body part. It could have morphed him in some way.
Oh, gotcha.
Like bloody, what was it? I saw it in Red Letter Media video where Jason Goes to Hell, when the bloody autopsy guy just like, oh, what if I bite into Jason's heart and then possesses him? Sam's finger works off the same thing.
As a massive, I literally just watched the Friday the 13th movies again this month. I love them that much. I could probably quote them to you. Jason Goes to Hell is a disaster, and I don't think it's in a good way.
So what you're saying is, Jason Goes to Hell can go to hell.
Yes. I actually don't mind people trying to say that Jason X is a misunderstood masterpiece now. That's whatever, but you'll never convince me Jason Goes to Hell has greatness in it.
Josie has her Spooky Season Awards for films that she's seen this year. Best Sound goes to Cube from 97. Best Editing, Jacob's Ladder. Best Makeup and Hair, Frankenhooker. Yeah. Best Animated Feature, Vampires in Havana. Best Score, Pino Donaggio for The Howling. Best Costumes, Mill of the Stone Women from 1960. Best Production Design, Horror Express. It won something, my word. Best Cinematography, The Others. Best Supporting Actor, Clarence Williams III from Tales from the Hood.
Nice.
Best Supporting Actress, both Juliette Lewis and Jessica Lange for Cape Fear. Best Original Screenplay, Trick or Treat. Best Adapted Screenplay, The Queen of Spades. Best Lead Actor, Koji Yakusho for Cure. Best Lead Actress, Simone Simon for Cat People. Best Acting Ensemble, Lake Placid. Best Director, Todd Haynes for Poison. And Best Picture, because we're not literally nothing doubled up here. That's pretty. Best Picture goes to The Faculty for what she saw this year.
I love on The Howling. I just rewatched The Howling like a few months ago. I forgot that The Howling is fucking awesome. Holy shit, I forgot how awesome that movie is. Because I used to not really be that into it, but holy shit, it's grown on me over the years.
Does that mean that there's a possible October review next year being foreshadowed?
Yeah, it's gonna, because I did a video with it in American Werewolf in London, but it's gonna be one of those ones where I don't remember what I said, but I probably wasn't good enough to it. So I'll definitely we'll have to revisit it.
You'll have to start doing a whole series of stuff like that where you've revisited movies that you trashed and call it like the Redemption series or something.
I started that last month, actually. It's called What Was I Saying?
So this ties into what was said earlier, ironically.
What are we turning into a horror movie now?
Chris, come up with a dark fairy tale movie, or maybe not, because it's set during Easter. So again, it's literally what you were pitching. Starring Brian Cox, Josh Hartnett, Jason Clarke, Lily Gladstone, Zoe Kravitz, and Dylan Baker.
Oh man, I think you have to make Brian Cox the deranged Easter Bunny here. And I think you need... Oh my, I'm gonna do it. Okay, it's a movie about the Easter Bunny harvesting souls, played by Brian Cox. And the person that's trying to stop it is literally Dylan Baker as Jesus trying to reclaim Easter. That's what I'm going with. Does anybody
realize that as long as Jesus spoke like Mr. Rogers, I'd be happy with it.
And Dylan Baker would be a Jesus that like cusses and like hits on women and shit. Let's just go all the way with it.
Where are tickets being sold for this so I can buy all of them?
Brian Cox and or Dylan Baker are definitely going in my personal lineup for personal Oscars for first time watches for this year. And this will be in screenplay because I love the screenplay, as you can tell. Also in all caps, I guess, in relation to what we talked about. Get Doherty to do a live action Peanuts movie.
I've already come up with like 4 of the deaths. Someone else finish it.
To be fair, James Gunn did do that quote-unquote PG porn parody with Michael Ironside as Charlie Brown.
Wait a minute. I have one more death we can add. Charlie Brown kills one of his teachers by sticking a horn on her head, so then her dying noises sound like the cartoon parrot sound.
I think it's. Hang on. Am I getting the name right? Am I getting the name right? Michael Ironside that played Lex Luthor in Smallville?
No, that was Michael Rosenbaum.
Michael Rosenbaum. That's the one.
And I will go on record and say Michael Rosenbaum is the greatest Lex Luthor we've ever had, and that I am sticking to that.
Oh, Leslie Bibb's been together.
Really, it's. I'm glad you clarified that because when you said Michael Ironside as Charlie Brown,
Yes.
the images in my head were really wild.
I mean, who knows? Maybe SAG's come on really hard times and we're just trying to get whatever roles we can.
Dude, I imagine the Michael Ironside version of Charlie Brown, like Lucy holds up a football, and he just says, "Fuck off." Oh man, maybe our Peanuts movie doesn't take place when they're kids. Maybe it takes place when they're old, and Charlie Brown's gone off the reservation, and it's Michael Ironside going around killing them all.
Wow, when you said that was, I think that was a good impression because when you said that "fuck off," I could so see his face.
And he's still wearing like the button down yellow shirt with like the brown lightning bolt through it. Just fuck off. It's easy to do It's easy to imitate Michael Ironside. You just do Jack Nicholson, but dial it back a little bit.
Here's your 5 cents. Fuck off. Uh-oh. Hang on. Leslie Bibb has been together since 2007 with Sam Rockwell. That demands a hot damn.
No, that warrants Sam Rockwell being in Trick or Treat 2. That's what that fucking warrants.
That would have, considering that would have been when they started dating, that would have been creepy if it was him as Henry and like that was, you know, the nature tape and like everything. Bryce says, I don't know if this was right or not, but the kids on the bus supposed to represent the portrayal of special need kids. No, they actually were sort of special needs kids to some extent. But that's what it was supposed to portray, yeah. But it was actually, you know, it wasn't like, as I say, it wasn't people portraying special needs. It was, to some extent, them being themselves, just getting the chance to be creepy. Probably a thing to experience. Oh, Josie also adds a dog's journey into hell. That's that's how we do that. And then randomly Sylvia Costa says Sylvia Costa. I don't know. C. 9. Gesundheit. Other words. And on that bombshell, final thoughts. This is one that I feel that I do need to go back to. In that I swear I've missed things that I'm gonna have to watch again and then realise. It's one of those that eventually at some point when I'm really like bored, I'm gonna play it at like 25% speed, so then it actually takes like 4 and a bit hours, so I could try and work out, wait, that bit, that fits, that goes there. It's gonna be like the bloody Charlie Day sort of pinboard thing from Always Sunny, like this over there, it all goes around and it all comes together. But yeah, definitely we'll be tapping into it. Maybe even this week. I don't know. Probably not, but this could. I'm not going to say an annual tradition, but it's something that I definitely will go back to more than once, I would have thought. AJ?
AJ, before you go on, I had another thought about the Dylan Baker Easter movie. I want to add to the plot. So, Dylan Baker's Jesus mixes in with this group of college girls because he finds them hot, and it ends up being kind of like Thor acclimating to Earth. You still want tickets to this?
Sure. I mean, all of these developments on top of, we still have a deranged Brian Cox Easter Bunny. I don't know whether he's in a suit or makeup, but either one is good for me.
No, what it actually is, he's in normal clothes and just wears bunny ears.
Still a
I'll
better
take it.
depiction of a bunny than Five Nights at Freddy's, but there we go. AJ, your final thoughts?
Yeah, I come back to this all the time because I love it because it's just so well done. It's such an actually great movie, but also just this time of year in general when I just watch basically nothing but horror movies. It's like how there's all kinds of different horror, but then there's stuff like this that's just so quintessentially Halloween specifically. And there's an appeal to that I feel like is something that's not oversaturated. And that's yeah, so I don't know how many times I've seen this at this point, but it's a lot, and it'll continue. There'll be a lot more also. So
I'm just having a quick look. I've just noticed that because I was trying to look at the book that apparently has got other stuff, and the Trick or Treat Collector's Edition that's Region 1 Blu-ray or whatever that I can see on Amazon, like, has like a really good artwork. Not whatever the hell you got. Hey, Jeff. Oh, I see. That was the standard edition from 2015. It's was it Shout Factory that did the 2018 like special edition?
I think I know what artwork you're talking about, and that would make sense for them. Yeah.
Yeah. That looks nice. And finally, the person that selected it for us, Chris. How was your? I guess we haven't established this yet. How was this as a first-time watch, and why are you going back to it every Halloween now?
Oh, this is a hell of a lot of fun. I will definitely revisit on Halloween. It's basically because I love anthology movies, and it's hard to find. There's a lot of them out there, but it's very hard to find ones that are well done like this one is.
It's a shame.
And like I said, I think there's ample opportunity to watch back and just see what else can be noticed. Like I know AJ's going to go back and at least look for 3 new things next time he watches it.
Jeez, if you're in the UK and you actually want like a physical version of it on a disc as opposed to watch it on streaming or whatever, apparently the DVD just brand new with various things like additional scenes is just $2.99. I'm gonna have to put that in my basket briefly because that seems like a steal. Just checking that we haven't got anything after Sylvia Costa. I don't want to say it 3 times because it might be like Beetlejuice. Who knows? That's all for the spooky stuff. But we're back with Chris's other pick as we get round to our regularly scheduled stuff in Bond 18, aka Tomorrow Never Dies. Which just is on loop on TV practically every other week on the one channel over here. Well, across God knows how many channels. Thanks, ITV. You just want to show Bond? Alright. Stop showing Quantum of Solace and Spectre then.
Man. Spectre. I was so bummed about Spectre. It starts off so awesome, and then it just craps the pot. I don't know if there's been many movies that let me down the way Spectre let me down.
So no doubt we'll touch on some of that. And less.
I had girls in high school let me down easier than Spectre did. That's terrible.
So, with that interesting segue, thank you for watching this or listening. You know, if you put us on in the background while we were talking.
Before we go, thoughts to Matthew Perry's family and friends. That
Yeah.
sucks. That sucks.
Yeah, that's.
I feel like Almost Heroes will be coming to Movie Club very soon.
I think it has to. I think it absolutely
And
has to.
I've been avoiding the whole 9 yards because I was afraid something would happen to Bruce Willis, and I was looking in the wrong direction.
Well, this might be me. You guys might have given me your curse because literally me and Susan have been working on a Friends jigsaw puzzle for the last week.
Oh my word. Now, hang on. I'm trying to remember what my selection was.
Apollo 11.
But going back to what I was talking about before, while you're looking that up, Ashley, I saw a picture that somebody posted today on Reddit, and it was a picture of the 6 friends, and Matthew Perry was in black and white, and it's like, man, I'm not ready for that picture to start going black and white.
So, at this rate, at this rate, all I need to say is, stay alive, Buzz Aldrin. At least for the next 4 weeks. Please. Anyway. Thank you for watching. Check out all the other content here on the channel. Be it AJ's movie reviews and verses reaching its crescendo over the next couple of days. Want to drop a few teasers for tomorrow's video and Tuesdays?
Well, tomorrow and Tuesday, me and my brother are finishing our Halloween series. And then November 1st will be a video on Pain Hustlers. And sometime after that will be Killers of the Flower Moon. And then I wish I was semi-retiring, but it'll be whatever comes next next after that.
It'll be stuff that's all the awards contenders that are getting put on Netflix.
Basically, yeah.
To some extent. Or Apple TV, or whatever. Or I guess, no, there is some on Amazon Prime, possibly. Anyway. Also at the cinemas, but that's unlikely. In some of the tech categories, maybe. In terms of me, I've got bonus Isaac videos for Halloween and Day of the Dead coming up this week, and then at some point before November 21st, hopefully, the McDonald's menu specials for October and November, because some of them are Halloween themed and some of them are just very not. Which I guess means we're getting Christmas. I don't know how you do Christmas chicken burgers and beef burgers, unless you put mincemeat in it, in which case that'd be terrible. Anyway, that's coming up from me. At some point, the new computer will go in by the end of November. I'm probably going to purchase it and set it up beforehand, so I might not have it set up for the movie club and the Q&A in 2 weeks, but hopefully for Apollo 11 and I guess our awards predictions for November, the aim is to have it there and set up, so it might look better than this, everybody. Fair warning, if it isn't, my internet is crap. Although, considering how much I pay for them, my internet is crap. And AJ's got some videos, I think, in the pipeline. Sorry, Owen's got some videos in the pipeline as well. Some point this week, possibly. Can't remember off the top of my head, but something is scheduled, I believe, for this week. Chris, shout out your socials and your podcast.
Instagram, Chris Hunt's Toys. Figures and Flippy Shit Wrestling Podcast. We just had another episode go up today that AJ edited for us. And AJ, shout out to you. We really like the how you do the bottom where you have the timestamps with different topics. We really like that.
I was really happy with that too when I figured it out.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. But yeah, we put out a new episode every Sunday. So even if you don't like wrestling, but you know someone that does, point them in our direction. We could use the numbers and the subscribers.
As I get confused next week when everything is an hour earlier when Saudi Arabia happens, as it always does twice a year.
Well, we don't do the Saudi shows. Those are the only ones we skip.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it because it could be could be a cluster after the cluster that happened in the boxing this past weekend. What the hell was that?
I tell you though, they've been building pretty good cards lately where it's hard to ignore that show.
Yeah,
like there's stuff
that's
on
the
it
problem.
I'd like to see, especially me being an LA Knight guy. Like it sucks.
Yeah,
Like, this is where to do that.
Well, at least CM Punk's coming back 3 weeks later. Maybe.
No, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not looking
Maybe
forward to that either
maybe
if
he'll
that
go to
happens.
Impact. That's where his buddy Ace Steel went, so we'll see.
I can be found on X Twitter at Ash is my name UK. Owen and the channel can be found at Sir Owen Disney and at Popcast Network for all the details about the uploads going up. AJ does not have all these social things. And just like Keith Richards cannot be killed by conventional weapons. Why am I saying it in that staccatic, didactic, I'm just saying words that end in ick voice. You can tell the clocks have gone back because my mind's gone whoa.
You went Malkovich there for a minute.
Sylvia Costa. So with that, thank you for watching and listening, everybody. And until next time, viewer beware, you're in for a scare. Oh wait, I was supposed to do it with a fancy voice. Damn it!